Over the past couple of months, there has been a lot said about the differences between the Vinyl Bracelet Digital Monster and more traditional Digimon V-Pets like the Digimon Pendulum right here, and while I could get into that any day, today I want to focus on just one set of differences, and that is how you carry these devices. With more traditional V-Pets like this one right here, they all inherited something from their Tamagotchi ancestors, which is to say the keychain, this little thing right here. And you could easily just take this, you can move that little clip up and down to snap this onto a backpack or onto your belt loop, but that kind of thought always terrifies me because at that point, your thing's just wiggling around everywhere, and if you've got multiple of these on, they're hitting against each other, and I don't know, that kind of thing just freaks me out. I don't like doing that, so I tend to not use the keychains. In fact, on some of my devices, I've entirely removed the keychain portion because I just don't like having it there. I feel like it gets in my way. Now, what I do like, though, is the way the Vinyl Bracelet does it, which is that they just have a wrist strap. Obviously, this is supposed to be a fitness watch, kind of like the Fitbit, and you just slide it on your wrist and fasten it, and you're good to go. It's not going anywhere. It's just nice and secure on there, and it will stay with you all day without having to worry about it, unless, of course, you're randomly knocking your wrist into walls, in which case, don't do that, please. But either way, I definitely prefer this method of carrying devices on my wrist compared to using a keychain to attach them to whatever and let them just fend for themselves at that point. So the good news is that while I'm not a big fan of the Vinyl Bracelet and it's not exactly a traditional V-Pet, if you do want to have a more traditional V-Pet on your wrist, well, there is an Etsy store, Angry Pearl, and they were nice enough to send me some examples of their product, which is these Digital Monster wristbands. These allow you to just plug your device in and wear it on your wrist just like you would any other watch, just like you would the Vinyl Bracelet, so you can have a virtual pet on your wrist, a more traditional style, and not have to worry about it knocking around everywhere. You just have it right there, ready to go, and it's able to be interacted with all while wearing it. So I'm going to show this off here. I've got a few devices with me, so I've got my Pendulum version 2.0, of course. I have my Digital Monster version 20th, a nice pretty blue translucent shell. I've got my Digital Monster version 4, also a blue translucent shell, and guess what color of Pendulum Z I have right here? I have a blue Pendulum Z. I tend to like blue things, what can I say? I've also got these nice light blue accents on these wristbands as well, and these can actually be swapped out. So for example, they were nice enough to send me as well this red variant, so if I wanted to, I would be able to, wait, the red one's on this guy, yeah. I could just swap this out, just pull, just give that a little bit of a nice push there. Everything fits nice and snug, so you don't got to worry about this stuff going flying, so you just need to give it a nice little bit of pressure when you're taking it out, and boom, there it goes. And we can swap that out and put in this red piece. So that is an option when you're ordering these. You can choose to swap it out for everything. So I got a nice little translucent red going on right there, which is super nice. Now, you may notice that I'm using two different ones here. I've got this one is for Digital Monster style devices, and this one is for Digimon Pendulum style devices. So this will work with the Digital Monster version 20th, it'll work with the original Digital Monster, and it will work with the Digital Monster X. While this one, with those slanted edges up there, will work with the original Digimon Pendulum, the Digimon Pendulum Z, and the Digimon Pendulum version 20th. It won't work with the Progress, of course, because the Progress is a different design, and it clearly will not work with the Pendulum X, because that's a very, very different design. But yeah, for your basic types of devices, these will work great. So I'm going to show this off a little bit. I'm going to first grab my super special one. They made me a really nice translucent blue one, which will go nicely with my various blue devices. And we'll start off with the Digital Monster version 20th here, which has a little Bodemon on it. Isn't he cute? I started him up for some reason. I don't think I'm going to raise him, so I just started him up for this video, and sorry, Bodemon, you probably won't last too long. Either way, so to load it in, it's very easy. Just make sure that you have the wristband nice and flush with the rest of the device right here, so you just kind of pull on that so it doesn't get in the way. And you can see there's a little slot here to line up the pin with, so we just make sure that we are lining those up properly while holding onto the wristband. There we go. And just kind of slide that in, and that popped out there a little bit. There we go. Plug that back in, there we go. Just messing around with that. Alright, and there we go. So now we have our Digital Monster version 20th all locked and loaded, ready to go, and it looks great, honestly. It does a good job of complementing the device. I would say it would probably work better if I had a different frame in this device, but I could, again, if I wanted to, I could swap out this one for a different one that I think may work better, but I'm happy with the way this looks right now. So then all we got to do is load it up. We just pull our wrist in right here. It's an elastic wristband, so you don't have to worry about it being, actually, hold on though, because I didn't position it properly first. Get on off of me there. All right, let's slide that on through. So I need enough room to be able to, there we go, to actually secure it. Double check the wristbands before you put them on, I will say that. Just make sure they're in the right position first. All right, so we just slide that onto our wrist, tighten it up with the Velcro, and there we go. We now have, I'll move that up my wrist a little bit, and we now have our Digital Monster version 20th on our wrist, and it's not going nowhere. See that? Shake it as much as you want, it ain't coming out. And I'm only holding on to the chain so that it doesn't bop it. I would recommend taking the chain out when you're using these devices, which is very easy to do if you've never done it before. You just take a really small screwdriver, go into these 4 screws on the back, and just very carefully just lift up the shell just a little bit and just pull that chain right out. That way you don't got to worry about that flopping around, but you could also just choose to kind of tuck it in a little bit as well, which it will probably come out eventually. But either way, as you can see, the device is nice and safe in there. I just punched my pendulum. Look at that, you can punch a pendulum and it's still not going anywhere. So yeah, so it's nice and very snugly fit in there, so you don't got to worry about a darn thing. So we're gonna take that off now, and I'll show you what the pendulum looks like on the other one. So there we go, I'll just leave you right over there. There we go, and the pendulum one, grab that. There it is. It's red now, though. I don't want it to be red. Let's take that back out. I want the blue one back in there. That's my color. Now, one thing about the pendulum that I was forewarned about is that if you do plan on using this with the Pendulum Z, just note that the paint here can potentially get scratched by this thing if you're shaking it while it's in the device, as in like you're actually just kind of actually doing the shakes for what you do. Sorry if that was a 3D effect right there. This is not a 3D video. So just one thing that they said is maybe put some Scotch tape on the device before you slide it in, and that should help protect it that way. So I'm actually going to do this test with the pendulum so I can shake it to my heart's content. So first we make sure this is in position this time, which it is. There we go. Make that nice and tight. Grab the pendulum. Again, we line it up with the pins and just push that right in. You heard that nice tight snap, and this one I feel like is even better than the Digital Monster Shell style one. This looks fantastic, so let's just go ahead and throw that on our wrist just to see. Oh look, Bodemon is evolving. Good for it. I wonder what it became. It became sleepy. Alright, so let's tighten it up. Move that up our wrist a little bit. And there we go. So now we have our pendulum in its wrist holster, ready to go. We could tuck that chain away again, right over there. Let's get that out of my way. Boom, there we go. Now I will say the one thing about the pendulum is that it's going to be a little bit hard to kind of get your mega hits. It's yeah, it's not the easiest way of interacting if you're using the pendulum style device, but you can always just pop it out whenever you need to do a training, which on this device is not very often. They don't need much training on these, and as you can see, everything is still 100% usable, so I can just come right in and interact with this. So let's go ahead and clean that poop out there for Pokemon. Boom, there we go. And so, yeah, works perfectly. Your device is not going anywhere, and you have it there on your wrist as you're walking around, which is very handy. So these are available on the Angry Pearl Etsy page. I'm going to have that link in the description, of course. You can get yours right there. And yeah, so if you ever wanted to have this on your wrist, I should also mention that if this design looks familiar, it is because that it was inspired by the Digimon Next Order opening cutscene. They have a Digital Monster snug into one of these types of holsters, and most of the people who played that game and liked Virtual Pets were like, oh, I want one of those. And so there you go. Now you can actually get one and have your Digimon mounted to your wrist as nice and safe without having to worry about them going anywhere. Look, I can even pull on it and it's not going to come out without me exerting a significant amount of pressure. So don't worry about your devices. They are 100% safe in these. Same thing here. Not going anywhere. So here you go. Hit up that Etsy store. Get one of these if you want to have a more traditional VPET experience on your wrist. And if you have any questions, I'm sure that you'll be able to ask them on that page as well. In the meantime, I will be working on additional videos, of course, beyond this one. We should be moving into our new home in the very near future, and once we are all moved in and everything is where it needs to be, I'll be able to start making more videos, which will be nice. I know people have wanted some more episodes of A Brief History of Digimon V-Pets, and I've wanted to do a few other things as well, so look out for more of those in the near future. But for now, if you want one of these wrist holsters, go check it out, and I will see you next time. Bye!